Officers, thank you. Those are really important. Yes, our election of officers, so that will also have to be on here as well.
I couldn't think of a word either.
Right? Okay, it's gonna be one of those meetings. All right, I would like to call the September 26th meeting of the Home Education Advisory Council to order at 3:32 p.m. Welcome, everyone, back. It is really nice to see everybody again. I hope you had great summers. The annual report went very well with the Board of Education. They were really excited to hear from us. They were excited to hear a lot of the positive things that are going on in homeschooling. They were very curious as to how many homeschoolers we had in New Hampshire, and so I gave them the numbers to the best of my ability and let them know that I would be able to give them more accurate numbers next year, since more districts will be reporting numbers this year, thanks to the technical advisory we sent out last year. So that was wonderful, and I did amend it, since between the time we met and the time I gave the report, we were able to locate all of the past year's annual reports. So they have all been located, they have all been refiled, yay. So I did amend the report that I gave them, and I took out the part that referenced not having them and needing the Board of Education and the Department of Education's help locating them. So we actually do need to revote just to approve the amended report. We can do that during old business. Expiring terms, David and Helen are not here yet. Kara, her term technically has expired, and we've also, I spoke to the commissioner about how the homeschoolers' terms were not aligned. We had 3 expiring in 1 year and 1 expiring in the other year. So when I spoke to the commissioner over the summer, he's going to extend Kara's term for 1 year, which will realign homeschoolers' terms, so we're not having an imbalance of retiring or ending homeschoolers. And so Kara has decided to stay on for an additional year. She has requested to be allowed to stay on as a member of a public library versus a member of Unschooling New Hampshire, which would give us another unschooler to bring on. So we're checking with the commissioner right now to see if that's something we can do as a member at large. And I would value input from anyone on the council as far as having New Hampshire public libraries represented on HEAP. If this is something that we think would be valuable, if this is something, and it's a 1 year, it would be a 1 year trial. So I would really value feedback about that. And I will speak to David. Helen has said she would stay on until we can find a replacement for her. She's taking on another position, and so she will be leaving us eventually. And David, I have not heard back from yet. VLAX. We've had some really positive movements in the VLAX arena. The commissioner had spoken to Steve, who is in charge of New Hampshire VLAX, and the issue we were having of people being asked to homeschool for 2 months while they got used to VLAX, we wanted to change that. And the commissioner spoke to Steve, and Steve said one of the problems he was having is children who were frustrated with their traditional public school would simply stop going and then show up at VLAX and want to enroll. However, by simply stopping attendance at their public school without another alternative, they were truant. VLAX historically required students to participate for 8 weeks before they would enroll them as full-time students. This policy was in place because students would express an interest in VLAX and then drop out of that program after several weeks. This policy has now been changed. VLAX will accept students directly who have some successful VLAX experience. Perhaps they took a class at their traditional school before leaving there, or they were a home education student who had taken at least 1 VLAX course or have been enrolled in one. However, if a student still has no experience with VLAX, they have to they're gonna require them to participate for 4 weeks. And during those 4 weeks, they will still have to enroll as homeschoolers, before they can fully enroll. And so, it's a step forward. It's less time as a homeschooler, it's less, I think it's a step forward. And so that, he's also, Steve at VLAX is really open for more suggestions. So if we have any suggestions on how to handle that interim period before they're fully enrolled as VLAX students, but after they have left their public school, he's open to hearing from us on that front. Yes, Michelle?
What if the student has other online experience, but not necessarily through VLAX? For
Okay.
example, I mean, there's a ton of online schools
Yes.
that are absolutely accredited programs. So if they have a proven online successful record somewhere, maybe they would be open to that.
And my question also to everyone, because this was an issue that you were all dealing with long before I came on. Are we, as the HEAC, are we moving towards having them not be homeschoolers at all? Would that be basically, that would be like the best case scenario? Okay,
That's my thought.
okay. I mean, I don't think anyone should be forced to enroll as a homeschooler who doesn't want to, and so that,
Doesn't want homeschool.
right, especially if it's only for 4 weeks. So, yeah, any suggestions we can come up with, and one thing I had thought of is somehow involving libraries, and maybe the kids can go to the libraries for those 4 weeks, but there's a whole, or if
That's
there's,
where they're open all the time.
right, or if there's a section of their school where they can be temporary VLAX students, if there's an extra classroom or something. I don't know if that's a feasible
I don't know how the school
alternative.
would,
Sorry?
I don't know how the school would,
Yeah.
look at that.
Right,
Or even the student, you know.
or the right.
Right.
Yes.
I usually find that people who are having a difficult time are not necessarily people who have been homeschooling before or maybe had an online class before, although that's a really interesting point, but the people who are suddenly pulling out of school, maybe parents are at work, there's not a lot of money for curriculum, VLAX is free, so I'm just wondering if the sending a letter of intent, even if it's only to cover 4 weeks, is really that onerous, since we don't require a scope and sequence or anything else. I would, if your intention is eventually to do VLAX, it would be nice if you didn't have to do that. But I know that when we ask the New Hampshire Homeschooling Coalition, we say, well, even if you're going to enroll full-time eventually, you are homeschooling right now, all you have to do is send the letter, then you're okay, they don't have to prove anything, and it just covers all the bases. So I don't know, unless we have two kinds of letters, a temporary letter, but what if VLAX then doesn't work for your child? This way, you've already got your letter, you're okay.
I think we need to maybe create a subcommittee to look at this, because we're not gonna figure it out at a regular council meeting, but it's something that needs to be figured out, some solution has to be found for it.
Okay. And I know Steve would be amenable to meeting with any of us, whether it's via phone or in person. So this is something we can absolutely do. Do I have a?
I can, I won't make a motion today, but I'll look into this and see, what I can do, and if there's some other people I can talk to that would be willing to, we don't need a proliferation of committees, but this thing looks like now there's some movement on the
Yeah.
part of VLAX.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is the time to look into it and a solution. I'm sure there's a solution that can be found. I'm not sure what it is right now, but I think we can find a solution.
Okay.
I think it might be helpful
Team VLAX. Excellent. So yeah, we have made some headway, and I appreciate you guys taking it further. So the rules update changed since I sent out the our agenda. I had made an inquiry, so let me pull up the email, for anyone I did not send the email to. I had made an inquiry to Amanda Phelps at the DOE, who is the Administrative Rules Coordinator, and just to ask where the rules were, how they were sitting right now. Attorney Richard Sala has left the New Hampshire Department of Education. He found a job teaching in New Hampshire, or in Vermont, excuse me. So he is not here to kind of take us through the rules process. And Amanda is now the person doing that, and she has taken the rules and amended them. And so I think we're going to reconvene our rules committee, subcommittee, to discuss the amendments that have been made. She did say that she said, if any of the changes I have made seem substantive, it might be because I did not quite understand the intent behind the change, so the input on the HEAC is welcome. It is possible I missed something as the documents start to go fuzzy after a few hours. I understand this. She said the changes that she had made were editorial in order to comply with the New Hampshire Drafting and Procedure Manual for Administrative Rules. So we will be reconvening the Rules Committee to discuss the changes and give her feedback on the ones that we received. So that's where the rules are right now. She said she could put them before the state board on October 10th if we voted on them today, but we can't do that. So we'll try to reconvene the Rules Committee between now and our November meeting. No, yes, and report back. Yes, George?
If there's no objection, I'd like to give her a call and go over the reasons that we changed, the reasons for our changes, so that she at least understands what's going on. And then from there, let's see what happens. We'll have to reconvene, but if I give her a call, at least we'll know, you know,
Her reasoning.
what she's thinking. But I'm not at all pleased with the way some of these revisions have come. Anyway, that's.
I think that's a reasonable request considering you're the chair of the Rules Committee, and I think, I have no objection. Does anyone? Yes?
Are these rules being rewritten because they have expired, or you are just making some changes?
The rules were found to not line up with statute,
Okay.
and so we have, the commissioner tasked us with revising them and rewriting them so that they lined up with statute.
Okay, so eventually they're going to come before Shellfire?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yep, they will. Any more questions or comments on the rules? Piper?
Sorry, like,
No, no worries.
just got out of class.
I'm glad you could make it into the agenda. All right. The commissioner and I spoke briefly about the equal access. We had been, at the end of last year, a few homeschoolers had been wanting to attend end-of-year senior days and proms and such. Sorry?
No, not there.
Oh. And so when the commissioner and I spoke, we thought a technical advisory might be the best way to let all the school districts know that in accordance with the laws and the rules, that they cannot prohibit homeschooling, or homeschoolers cannot have more restrictive access to any events, curricular or co-curricular. And so he's happy to put out a technical advisory regarding that particular matter for us. He's actually waiting to hear back from Amanda on how best to word it. And so that will be happening in the near future. If anyone has anything they would like to add to it, or any questions or comments, the commissioner is happy to field those as well before the advisory goes out. Yes?
I just had a comment that when we had a get-together of our group, I did talked to some moms, and it is an issue when you move from one district to another. The districts are different in how they handle it, and some are better at following this than others.
Yes. If you wouldn't mind letting me know which districts, privately or whatever, they have found to be more restrictive, that helps the commissioner in addressing them specifically, if they need to be addressed specifically if the technical advisory doesn't have its intended purpose. So, thank you. It's just helpful to know.
We had some questions come up about field trips, particularly when children were planning to take a field trip, then pulled out of school and became homeschoolers. So that's a slushy area because sometimes the field trip goes particularly with the curriculum. So if you're enrolled in the class, the teacher wants to take those students on the trip, but perhaps doesn't want to take the homeschooled student. And that might be something for them to talk about.
It's
What about field trips that are
specifically-
specifically linked to some curriculum at the school?
Okay.
Do homeschoolers have access to those or not? I can understand that.
According to statute, it's all activities. It's painted with a very broad brush.
Unless they call that part of the class, you see. If they're not enrolled in French 1 and French 1 is going to whatever, that's why I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I believe the statute has two portions that say shall and another one that says may. So the school district shall make curricular and co-curricular activities available. They may have a policy, but it shall not be more restrictive. And those are very particular. And there's a part, and I forget exactly how it says, that specifies social